Some Hollywood legends shine so brightly that their names echo forever. Ingrid Bergman was one of them. The star of Casablanca, winner of 3 Oscars, and once hailed as the most beautiful woman in the world. To the public, she was untouchable. Yet behind the applause, she carried a secret love she never dared reveal. A memory of a man who haunted her thoughts until her final days. Who was he, and why did she take this truth to her grave? Her journey began far from Hollywood. Born in Stockholm in 1915, Ingrid's childhood was scarred by loss. Her mother died when she was just 3, and by 12 she had also lost her father. Shy and sensitive, she grew up in the care of relatives, often feeling like a stranger in her own home, but the theater became her escape. At the Royal Dramatic Theatre School, she dazzled, her natural presence and luminous beauty making her stand out instantly. She wasn't just a pretty face, she turned grief into strength, and audiences felt it. In 1939, producer David O. Selznick brought her to America to star in Intermezzo. Hollywood's world of polished glamour clashed with her authenticity, but audiences adored her. Almost overnight, she became a sensation, embodying a different kind of star, genuine, unforced, radiant. Over the years, she starred in more than 50 films across continents, collecting Oscars, Emmys, a Tony, and countless international awards. Yet her rise was not only about talent, it was about timing. In an era filled with heavily manufactured stars, Ingrid's natural style felt like a revolution. She was proof that truth could outshine artifice, and her career seemed unstoppable. But Hollywood is rarely forgiving, and just as her star reached its peak, scandal was about to cast its shadow. By the mid-1940s, Ingrid Bergman wasn't just a star, she was the star. Casablanca, Gaslight, Notorious, every performance added to her reputation as Hollywood's brightest jewel. She had become a symbol of grace and talent, admired by critics and adored by audiences around the globe. But Hollywood crowns are fragile, and Ingrid would soon learn how quickly adoration could turn to condemnation. At the height of her fame, she made a choice that stunned the world. While married and raising her daughter Pia, Ingrid began a passionate affair with Italian director Roberto Rossellini. Their romance ignited during the filming of Stromboli, and Ingrid followed her heart without hesitation. But in doing so, she set off a cultural earthquake. The press branded her a sinner, the church denounced her, and even the US Congress condemned her. Overnight, the adored star became a pariah. Exiled from Hollywood, Ingrid fled to Italy with Rossellini. For years, she lived in Europe, her reputation in ruins, separated from her eldest daughter, and criticized as a mother. It was a brutal fall from grace, one that scarred her deeply. Yet even amid scandal, Ingrid continued to create art, transforming her pain into performances that would later be seen as some of her finest. But long before the Rossellini scandal, another man had quietly entered her life, not through headlines but through a bond so private it would remain hidden for decades. In 1945, Alfred Hitchcock cast her opposite Gregory Peck in Spellbound. On screen, their chemistry was so powerful that audiences believed the love story must be real, and perhaps it was. On the set of Spellbound, Ingrid Bergman found herself drawn to Gregory Peck in a way she hadn't expected. He was towering and impossibly handsome, but it was more than that. His quiet humility and unshakable integrity set him apart from the noise of Hollywood. She later admitted that when he entered a room, he seemed to command it without ever raising his voice. His presence, calm and steady, felt like a refuge from the chaos of her rising fame. During the long days of filming, their bond grew undeniable. They would linger after shoots, walking together through quiet Los Angeles streets, confiding in each other about the pressures of stardom and the difficulties of their marriages. For Ingrid, whose husband Peter Lindstrom was growing increasingly distant, Gregory became a confidant, someone who listened without judgment. For him, Ingrid was both muse and equal, a woman whose strength matched her vulnerability. Rumors spread quickly on set. Crew members noticed their stolen glances, their late arrivals, their smiles that carried secrets. One morning, the pair showed up with rumpled clothes and tired eyes, and whispers flew. Had the romance leapt off the screen and into reality? Neither Ingrid nor Gregory confirmed anything, but decades later, Peck confessed in an interview that they had indeed shared a brief but passionate romance. "I loved her," he said simply, "and I think that's enough." Unlike her public scandals, which the press dissected with cruelty, this secret love was something Ingrid carried quietly until her final breath. For her, silence was not denial, it was preservation. She believed that by keeping it hidden, she kept it safe from distortion. The moment remained theirs alone, untouched by gossip, unspoiled by the endless appetite of Hollywood's rumor mill. When Gregory Peck finally admitted the truth decades later, it only confirmed what Ingrid's cryptic words had already suggested. Their bond was real, brief, and unforgettable. But for Ingrid, the choice to remain silent spoke louder than any confession. In choosing secrecy, she kept that memory whole, like a film reel never projected, preserved only in her heart. By the late 1970s, Ingrid Bergman had endured triumphs, scandals, and comebacks. But her final battle would be the most personal. While performing on stage in London, she discovered a lump in her breast. She underwent surgery in secret, determined that her illness would not overshadow her work. Even as her health declined, she refused to let the world see her as anything less than strong, graceful, and devoted to her craft. For years, she continued acting while quietly fighting cancer. Directors and co-stars marveled at her discipline, noting how she hid her pain behind poise and professionalism. To audiences, she remained radiant, her performances carrying the same magnetic power as always. Few knew that every role she took on in her final decade was performed while she waged a private war against her failing body. As the disease advanced, Ingrid withdrew into a modest London apartment where crowds of reporters and fans gathered outside hoping for a glimpse of her. Inside, she battled exhaustion and failing lungs, yet still greeted visitors with warmth and dignity. Friends remembered her smile, her calmness, and the quiet courage that seemed to define her even in her weakest moments. She refused to let illness claim her spirit. On August 29, 1982, her 67th birthday, Ingrid Bergman passed away. The symbolism was striking. She had entered the world and left it on the same day, as though life itself had scripted her ending. Her funeral in London drew mourners from across the globe, and her ashes were later scattered off the coast of Sweden, near her childhood home. The girl who had once stood alone on a stage in Stockholm had taken her final bow on the grandest stage of all. Even after her death, Ingrid Bergman's influence only grew stronger. The American Film Institute ranked her 4th among the greatest actresses of all time, an honor that cemented her place in cinematic history. She had achieved what few ever would, the coveted Triple Crown of acting with 3 Oscars, 2 Emmys, and a Tony. Beyond the trophies, she left behind a body of work that stretched across continents, languages, and decades, a testament to her versatility and enduring talent. Her memory was honored not only through film, but also in cultural tributes. In 2015, the Cannes Film Festival chose her image as its official poster, placing her alongside the immortals who defined the very spirit of cinema. Statues of her stand in her native Stockholm, while exhibitions in film institutes around the world keep her story alive. Even nature paid tribute when, in 1984, a deep red rose was named after her, the Ingrid Bergman, symbolizing both elegance and strength. She also inspired music, poetry, and art. Folk legend Woody Guthrie once wrote an unrecorded song about her, calling her a force of nature whose presence could shake mountains. Decades later, the lyrics were rediscovered and set to music by Billy Bragg and Wilco, ensuring that Ingrid's aura touched even those who had never seen her films. In this way, she became more than an actress, she became a muse, a figure whose life inspired creativity far beyond the screen. What made Ingrid's legacy truly timeless was not just her beauty or her talent, but her fearless spirit. She dared to live on her own terms, defying conventions, scandals, and even the shadow of illness. She was a woman who carried light and shadow in equal measure, and through it all, she remained unapologetically herself. That courage is what continues to inspire generations, proving that Ingrid Bergman was not just a star of her time, but a flame that burns far beyond it. Ingrid Bergman's life was a story of dazzling light and haunting shadows. She rose from a childhood of loss to become one of the most celebrated actresses of all time, capturing the hearts of audiences with her authenticity and strength. Yet behind the glamour was a woman who endured scandal, heartbreak, and illness, always carrying herself with dignity and resilience. Her life was as complex and dramatic as any role she played. Her secret love for Gregory Peck revealed a side of her the world never truly knew. It was a bond forged in silence, preserved through discretion, and remembered with tenderness. She chose to protect it, not because it lacked importance, but because it mattered too much. For Ingrid, some stories were not meant for headlines. They were meant for the heart. Her legacy endures, not only in her films, but in the way she lived. She defied convention, embraced risk, and never surrendered to the labels others tried to place upon her. She was at once a scandal and a saint, a rebel and a role model, a woman who belonged to the world yet remained fiercely her own. That contradiction is what made her unforgettable. And so, Ingrid Bergman remains more than a star of Hollywood's golden age. She's a reminder that legends are not only built on glory, but on secrets, struggles, and choices hidden from the spotlight. Her story invites us to wonder How many other secrets from that glittering era still remain buried in silence, waiting for their moment to be revealed?